We are officially at week one of the NFL season. The Miami Dolphins season opener happens to be on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. And we have got the first injury report for the Miami Dolphins heading to the season opener. I am Miami Herald columnist Omar Kelly. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls, Miami Herald's Dolphins beat reporter. Isaiah, there are a lot of injuries. There's a long list of injuries that we're starting the season with. And Indianapolis Colts, they've got one injury. Tyler Goodson, who is on a limited basis because of an elbow injury. But let's run down the Miami Dolphins injury report because it's kind of important. Devon Achane, the starting tailback, is basically practicing with the Miami Dolphins. He's on a limited basis because of his calf injury. Then we've got Tyreek Hill, who is practicing also. He has got a oblique injury and also a calf injury. Both are on a limited basis. We've got Austin Jackson with a toe injury, limited. We've got Storm Duck with a hip injury. He's participating. And surprise, surprise, Darren Waller cracks the first injury report with a hip injury. And he actually didn't practice today because Mike McDaniel said they're going to do red zone and third downs practice. And that's basically when the Miami Dolphins need Darren Waller the most. So he's going to be saved to practice later tomorrow. Are you surprised that Darren Waller has a legitimate injury?
Not necessarily, right? I know in the past I had said that this was, it seemed to be like on par with what McDaniel and the coaching staff had said with Waller in terms of like not suiting him up prior to, not suiting him up during joint practices and waiting until after joint practices for him to get some run, right? And so personally, I believe that, right? But once joint practices ended, and it was last week, right? And we were just waiting kind of for Darren Waller to, do something. He didn't do anything then. That's when the gears started to turn a little bit, right? And so, look, I knew it had to be something, right? Especially after the Saturday game between the Dolphins and the Jaguars when someone asked about Waller and McDaniel's response was he suffered no setbacks, right? And so that's when I feel like everyone was like, setbacks from what? Like, so
yeah, no. What people don't understand is teams do not have to disclose their injuries until the first Wednesday of the regular season, unless you're playing a Thursday night game. Then it's the Monday. And so we got a lot of injury disclosures. Another mystery was Ashton Davis, who suffered a calf injury. He was in a walking boot. That's good. He's back. He's back on a limited basis practicing. I'm very curious how you see that safety position panning out with Austin Jackson, with Ashton Davis back.
No, I feel like that's a great question. From the initial depth chart that we received, right? Ashton was number one. Iffy was number two, right? And I think, they were probably going to do that, but I feel like now, calf limited, he has to ramp up his training in the next couple of days in order to, be able to start on Sunday, especially considering, if he is not also, but he's dealing with a hamstring injury and was a full go, right? So for me, I would lean more so towards the guy that is available, right? That is more available, right? And it has worked here, working for a longer period of time for sure.
Yeah, especially from a chemistry standpoint. I wouldn't be surprised if Elijah Campbell's in the mix just because he's had a great time to work and develop chemistry with Minkah Fitzpatrick. So no matter what, I'm curious to see what happens with the cornerback unit. I'm curious to see what happens with the safety unit. Those are one of the biggest mysteries that I have about this team and how they'll perform. Last year, I believe the Dolphins only had 16 turnovers, 10 interceptions. That's certainly a number. When I did the league average for the last 5 years has been 22 turnovers. Dolphins definitely have to turn that around. But one player who is going to be a little bit limited, even though he says he's 100%, is Devon Achane. Here is how Devon Achane talks about being shut down during training camp.
Like the onus is going to be on you a lot to produce.
I feel like whoever out there, like you say, we was not hurt, but like I said, I'm gonna be ready for week 1, and I feel like the usage is gonna be as anybody was 100%.
With the calf injury, they talk about how tricky that is. What have you done precautionary wise to make sure it heals up and you don't re-aggravate it?
Me, being out for 2 weeks that I didn't play, the preseason was, just for safety. It wasn't so much of like, okay, it's something real bad. It was more of a like, we don't want to re-injure it. So me being out those 2 weeks was like something that I did to make sure that I didn't have any risk.
Are you feeling back to 100%?
Yeah.
How do you guys recreate the 2023 offensive magic that you had?
I just feel like as a team, man, we just got to buy in. I feel like we've been doing that since OTA. Everybody been here, everybody locked in, and I feel like Sundays are gonna be a great day to us to go out there and showcase what we got.
I'm curious, the night before a game, are you able to fall asleep or like excitement?
Yeah, I go sleep. I can most definitely go sleep. It really depends if we got an early game or a late game. If we got a late game, I might stay up. Just for me. But I'm always able to go sleep for a game.
With that, obviously, you mentioned 1,000-yard being the threshold. It seems easy to do considering it's like 60-something yards a carry a game. Mm-hmm. How challenging is that to get to that 1,000-yard threshold?
It's most definitely not easy. But that's something that you want to do as a running back. But like you said, it's gonna take a lot, and I'm prepared for it. So you gotta go out there every day and just see what's given.
Yeah, we're talking to Devon Achane, and I'm actually doing a piece right now in terms of parameters in terms of what we should expect for number of players on the Dolphins team. If you rush for 60 yards per game for 17 games, you will get to 1,020 yards. What will benefit Devon is the fact that he has averaged 5.6 yards per carry throughout his career, which includes his rookie season where he set an NFL record for yards per carry. But the one thing I do find very interesting about Devon's career, and I didn't know this until I started looking at the studies, he has not averaged 11 carries per game in his first 2 seasons. He's not at 11 carries per game, which is quite interesting and odd. Yeah. Yes, sir. So that's an interesting thing. Now we're not talking about touches. We're talking about carries, run the ball. Now, obviously last season was a little bit of an issue because they struggled running the ball. So there was a lot of passes thrown to Devon Achane. But we're talking about carries, and I think, look at this backfield. Yes, you're going to split it a little bit with Ollie Gordon, but I look at Devon as probably a 15 carry per game workload type of back. So it'll be interesting to see if that volume increases. Now, you wrote a piece about Ollie Gordon, looking up the Doak Walker Award winners of the last decade, and tell me what you found.
So the interesting piece of information that I found, right, is if you played an NFL snap and you won the Doak Walker Award over the last 10 years, you have at least one season of at least 900 yards, right? And so to me, that signals what? One, Ollie has an opportunity to go out and actually, eventually, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but eventually go out and try to push for 1,000 yards, right? And I specifically mentioned that caveat if you play the NFL snap, right? Because Bryce Love out of Stanford won the award. I can't even remember how many years ago, but he won the award, and I think he was drafted, but he had some injury concerns and he never played an NFL down, right? So if you think about the past Doak Walker Awards winners, right? You're thinking of Ashton Genty. Obviously, he hasn't played an NFL snap yet. You think of Bijan Robinson, right? You think of Kenneth Walker III, Derrick Henry, Melvin Gordon, right? These are all guys that have gone on to have, pretty successful NFL careers, right? And so, Ollie just hopes to be next in line in that regard. And so obviously it'll take opportunity, right? But considering how the Dolphins have played their running backs in the past, right, with the 1A, 1B situation, and Jalen Wright, missing at least the first month after getting some surgery and Alexander Mattison out for the year. He has a real opportunity to try to eclipse that mark, if not this year, certainly next year and in years, in the future, if he continues his development, right? Because I think between the both of us, we will tell you that, even when Wright was healthy, Ollie Gordon looked like the better back, so we'll see if the Dolphins certainly think that.
But Alexander Mattison also looked like the better back when all of them were healthy. So
yes, but he's no longer here. So we got to focus on what we got.
Technically, he's here. My thing is, and this is practice. So, I can honestly tell you, and people would love to bring this up, but Devon Achane wasn't tremendously impressive in his rookie year either. We used to have a back here named Devon Achane, who you could never tell the difference between Devon Achane and Devon Achane because they literally were the same size, and one wore yellow shoes, and that was really the only difference that we were able to tell. And in fact, that year, Devon Achane earned the number 2 back role. So, but eventually, Devon Achane got that opportunity when Devon got hurt. And then you saw a 7.8 yards per carry average, and you saw a real breakout season, which led to where he is right now. But starting everything for the run game, in my opinion, is the offensive line. I wrote a column earlier this week, basically saying this is what the entire season success hinges on, whether or not this offensive line can be up to snuff, can play with a standard. And man, I am so shocked that, one, they were able to supplement the unit last week when they added Kendall Lamb. So that gives you a little bit of insurance. Now you get Austin Jackson back with the foot injury. And the question is, with the toe injury, the question is, how productive do you expect this offensive line to be? Austin Jackson addresses some of that, along with talking about what the standard is, because you oftentimes hear this offensive line talk about the standard. Well, what is the standard? How old are you now?
26.
20. Like, what has 6 years of experience taught you about the NFL?
It's taught me a lot. It's taught me about situations. It's taught me about really everything I want to be better at. So I want to be a great offensive lineman. So over the years, I've kind of just learned techniques, fundamentals, schemes, when to have patience, when to have sense of urgency. I'm just soaking up everything I can to be the best. And 6 years doing it, I think I'm coming along pretty well.
With you guys always talk about the standard for the offensive line.
Yes.
What is the standard? Explain it to me.
So basically, we have a set of principles for, how we block in this system. We have technique and fundamental keys. So that's part of the standard, along with the effort. We have to have a really strong intention of working on those technique and fundamentals in practice and in the game. So we just really want to be the ones where you look to the offensive line and you see them working hard. We don't want to be the ones where you look to us and you see us loafing, if that makes sense. So we just try to be that's our standard. That's our standard.
The night before the game, are you able to fall asleep? Are you up? What do you do there?
Night before the game, I need sleep. I make sure I'm falling asleep by 9:30, 10. Now I do wake up 5 or 6 times. I wake up every 30 minutes after 2 a.m. But I need sleep. I'm sleeping as much as I can with a full belly and drinking lots of water.
What do you wake up every 30 minutes for?
I think that's anxiety. Because you wake up to pee at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you're like, oh, it's game day. You try to get in bed, but you're like, it's game day. So, but yeah, it works out for me.
Yeah, I found that interesting. One, I wonder if every man wakes up to pee at 2 o'clock in the morning. I know I certainly do. And two, when you're hydrating your body, think about this, because they got to really hydrate their body, especially when they're playing home games.
100%.
Imagine how much liquid is in your body by the time you go to bed.
Yeah, it's probably crazy. It's probably a crazy amount. I've had those nights where I've drank a little bit too much water before bed, and I've ended up getting up every, it feels like every 30 minutes. But I will tell Austin Jackson this. One key that I've seen, I think it was, sleep researchers talking about, is you're not supposed to look at the time when you get up in the middle of the night, because when you do that, psychologically, you start doing what he does. Oh my God, it's game day. Oh my God, I have this much amount of time. Oh my God, I have this much amount of time. And, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to literally just go back to sleep. And, it is actually linked to better rest if you don't look at the time when you wake up in the middle of the night. So I'm gonna share my little 29-year-old wisdom with him.
I've learned not to touch my phone. Don't touch your phone.
Yeah, you're definitely not supposed to touch your phone. Definitely not.
So, what are your reasonable expectations for this Dolphins offense heading into a season opener? Because this is the first week where everybody, even though I think it might be 2 days because Darren Waller didn't practice today, it'll be interesting to see if he practices tomorrow. What do you realistically expect when this offense hasn't worked all together?
I mean, I think it's going to be clunky at first, right? It's going to be. I think we saw it, when they played the Jags backups. Like, that offense did not look good at first, right? And so I think it'll take, a few drives to really get that rhythm underneath them. Because look, Austin Jackson's back. Devon Achane is going to be in the backfield. Tyreek is back, and even though Tua told us, like, hey, like, my relationship with Tyreek is good. Y'all blew it out of proportion, which is
we did.
Which is a little bit ironic considering he was the one that mentioned it in the first place. But that's neither here nor there.
He was asked the question, though. He was asked the question.
I know, I agree, but I say all that to say, like, it's going to take a few series, at least in my opinion, to get it fully underway. Just because, look, they haven't blocked alongside Austin Jackson in a real game since. Well, James Daniels has never done it, right? So it's going to take some time. And, obviously they've been doing it, on air, and I'm sure against the Dolphins defense. But it's different. It's totally different going against a team that, for lack of a better terms, wants blood, right? So
what team that? Oh, you talking about the Colts? Okay, sure.
I'm just saying in general, like you're not like if an opposing defense doesn't want you to have anything successful. Like, and blood, I'm sure is a little bit of a exaggeration, but they want to push you to the extreme. That's the point that I'm trying to make, right? And so when you have an offense that hasn't been together all that long, granted they have years of bank reps, right? But just getting back into the flow of it, I think it's gonna look clunky at first, but they'll get it, they'll get it handled. I see them winning against the Colts very, very handedly. Like, it's gonna be.
I have a very important question to ask you.
Okay.
Do you think playing Xavier Howard and Xavier Howard's history and knowledge of Miami's offense, Miami's motions, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua Tagovailoa will give Miami some kind of edge?
Will give the Colts some kind of edge, you mean?
Yeah.
I think slightly. Yeah, a little bit. Like, because he knows the basics of it, but I'm sure there's been subtle nuances that have changed, right?
Yeah.
Because think about it, like, he was last here 2023, right? So
when the offense was humming, by the way.
Yes, you're right. But in the last year, they've had to change some things around to get the offense to actually be able to move down the field, right? And with this year being, year 3 of McDaniel, right? Like, it's going to be a little bit, they're going to change a little bit more, right? So I just think, yes, that he might have a very basic understanding and a very basic knowledge of it, but I don't think it's going to ultimately 100% help you because it's changed. The team has changed. He's never faced a Malik Washington, right?
Hold on.
He's never faced
He has faced Tua Tagovailoa for 4 years of his career. He knows Tua's strengths. He knows Tua's weaknesses. He has faced Tyreek.
Yes.
He's faced Jalen Waddle. I don't think any cornerback, maybe other than Jalen Ramsey, has more of an intimate knowledge about their game.
Yes.
So if Xavier is Xavier, which I have no idea if he is or if he isn't, I think it'll be a very interesting matchup. Did Tua address possibly having to face Xavier?
He did. He said that it's going to be cool because he has a lot of respect for Xavier. And obviously, when he entered the league, and I'm he was like the OG of the team, right? Like it's a guy who had been there, relatively long. And, by the time he left, he was, I believe, the longest tenured Dolphin on the squad, right? So very, very intimate knowledge of Xavier. But I think at the same time, I think Tua is more juiced up because it's just cool, right? It's a guy that you've faced before in practice countless times. And I think there's some level of wanting to prove that you're not that same quarterback, right? And so
listen, interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I do know, and I think Xavier knows Tua's strengths, and Xavier also knows Tua's weaknesses. And I don't know, and I don't think it's wise for Xavier to be shadowing still. I think you put him on one side of the field, and it's kind of impossible to shadow Tyreek Hill just because of how much he moves and how much they're trying to get him in motion and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and how Lou Anarumo's defense. We know Lou from his history here coaching the Dolphins secondary. See how his defense rebounds from when he had a failed attempt to be the defensive coordinator with the Bengals. That defense kind of fell apart on Lou, but he's back in the defensive coordinator position with the Indianapolis Colts. Is there anything out of the Colts matchup that concerns you the most?
I'm curious to see how, Jack Jones and Storm Duck match up against a bigger receiver like Michael Pittman Jr., right? They've faced a lot of, relatively quote unquote smaller guys and Waddle and Hill. And, you've said your own piece about like how facing Smurf receivers isn't necessarily the best, because just in terms of the entire season, while skill level, you might not find a better receiving duo in the league. From a size level, you definitely will find taller players, right? And so I'm just curious to see how these two guys handle the size of Michael Pittman Jr., right? He's a guy that is relatively big, that is very physical, right? I'm just curious to see how they match up size-wise. That to me is and then also Tyler Warren. I know that last year the opposing like elite tight ends had given the Dolphins a little bit of trouble, right? Specifically the linebacker core. And so I want to see if there's any improvement on that in that area, right? Okay. Obviously Tyler Warren is not elite right now.
It just sounded like you were calling him elite,
but I'm saying he is one of the better tight end prospects of this draft class, right? Him and Colston Loveland were thought to be.
I wasn't a fan, just to be on the record.
Why? I disagree. Why weren't you a fan?
Very one-dimensional. I need my tight ends to be multi-dimensional, and I
didn't think he was just a pass catcher.
I didn't think he was a very good inline blocker. I thought
he was not. Okay.
I just thought he was a nice little pass catching weapon. Reminded me of Florida's tight end that plays for the Atlanta Falcons now.
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and the inline work just wasn't doing it for me. And I need a more all-purpose tight end, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in that match.
My only retort to that though is I saw that man line up in the backfield.
So yeah. No, he can do.
So I ain't gonna let you say that he's not.
Oh no way. Blocking an inside linebacker is a lot different than blocking a Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips. Those are different animals.
I hear you. I hear you. I'm just saying.
Yeah. He can do backfield. He can do H-back work. He can do move stuff. He's a move tight end. I like that. You know.
I'm talking about Wildcat out the backfield. Like he was in the Wildcat. Like that's athleticism.
I didn't say he wasn't athletic. I didn't say. I'm curious. I think
you said he wasn't versatile. You like your tight ends to do a little bit more.
I like my tight ends to be able to inline block along with the move stuff. And yes, it's not easy to find that player, but they exist out there. Jonnu wasn't exactly that player either. So
Brock Bowers certainly isn't the best inline blocker. And he tore them boys up.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday at, I believe, 1:00 in Indianapolis. Dolphins in depth. We will be here on Friday to give you a preview of the game and to go over that final injury report. Hopefully you'll be checking in. Hopefully you're subscribed. either the audio or the YouTube channel. And we will be back on Friday.
Peace.